Hello everyone. If you are here, it is for a special reason. What I am going to share today can transform your perspective on everything you have learned. My story is not just mine. It is a call for all of us. If you have ever felt that something is wrong with the world, that the truth has been hidden, stay with me until the end. Before we begin, comment on where you are watching from and subscribe, because what comes next is important. Let's go on this journey together. If I had to describe that morning in one word, it would be ordinary. Nothing seemed different. No divine warnings, no strange omens, just a regular day. My alarm went off at 6:30, and as usual I hit snooze on the first beep. The sun was rising in Atlanta, painting the sky golden and orange. The sounds of the world waking up echoed outside, the noise of cars on the road, a dog barking, hurried steps above me. I sat on the edge of the bed, took a deep breath, stretching. My still sleepy body tried to convince me to stay in bed a little longer. Come on, Azariah. Come on, Azariah. One more day, I muttered, getting up. I went to the kitchen, where the coffee maker was already working, spreading that aroma that helped me start the day. I grabbed my phone, checking emails while having my coffee. Nothing out of the ordinary. No strange messages. Just another Tuesday? My life as a consultant was based on routine. I liked numbers, graphics, the logic of investments. There was no room for the irrational. I didn't believe in miracles. But everything was about to change. The traffic on I-75 was chaotic as usual. Honking, impatient drivers, motorcycles squeezing between cars. I turned on the radio, listening to 90s music. A strange weight pressed on my chest. Not a strong pain, but discomfort. I tried to ignore it. Maybe it was stress. I'd been working too much, but the discomfort increased. My fingers tingled. My heart raced. The music sounded distant, as if underwater. I took a deep breath, trying to calm down. But it got worse. A strong tightness gripped my chest. My vision blurred. The sounds became muffled. I knew something was wrong. I tried to control the car, but I couldn't. My arms weak, confused mind. No, I tried to speak, but my voice came out distant. The world spun. My car veered off the road. It all happened quickly. Flashing lights, screeching brakes, and then the impact, the sound of twisted metal. I was thrown against the seatbelt. Silence. My eyes open, feeling nothing. No pain. No fear. Peace. I realized I was no longer in my body. Absolute silence. For a moment, I thought it was a dream. But something was different. I saw everything clearly. Felt everything. My body still in the car. But I floated above, watching without fear. Watching with knowing that something impossible was happening, but feeling calm. Sounds slowly returned. Screams, tires, alarms, a woman asking for help, paramedics arriving, attempts at resuscitation. I knew I was leaving. A force pulled me, and I didn't resist, floating, weightless. City below me, but it seemed distant, a light shining above, not like the sun but like a sacred presence. I was drawn to it. The tunnel opened. Energy pulsed. Figures appeared. I recognized some. Grandpa Elijah, warm smile. Other familiar figures, men and women from another time. I felt they knew me. A voice echoed. I didn't remember, but I felt. A force pulled me into the tunnel. I didn't resist. Childhood visions, and something I never lived. A golden temple, people dressed with dignity. A throne of light. My heart clenched. I knew. A resplendent being awaited me. He smiled, full of love. His voice was like a chant. He knew me. I trembled. Jesus stepped forward, and as he came closer, more details of him became visible. His face was illuminated from the inside out. His eyes saw me completely. Not just who I was now, but everything I had been. And then, something inexplicable happened. My entire life flashed before me. It wasn't like a movie. It wasn't a simple memory. It was like reliving every moment at the same time. I saw my childhood, Saw the day my mother held me in her arms for the first time. Saw the day my mother held me in her arms for the first time. Saw my father smile as he taught me to ride a bike. Saw the good moments. Laughs with my sister Eli. Late night talks with Malik. But I also saw the parts I wanted to forget. Saw every bitter word I had said. Saw every time I ignored someone in need. Saw every tear I caused. Not just to others, but to myself. And the strangest part, there was no judgment. I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel condemned. Just understanding. Every mistake. Every wrong choice. Every moment of doubt. Everything was part of something greater. Jesus looked at me and said, "You always thought you were alone." I felt a squeeze in my chest. He was right. How many times had I felt lost? Directionless, purposeless. How many times had I sought answers in the wrong places? Ignoring the truth that had always been with me, my eyes filled with tears. Why me? Why am I here? I finally managed to ask. Jesus reached out his hand, and when he touched my shoulder, the world around me changed again. I was in a completely different place. It was no longer the golden space where Jesus was. Now I saw Earth, but not the world as I knew it. I saw continents forming, saw oceans spreading, saw civilizations emerging, and then I saw Africa. But not the Africa that history books had shown me. Not the Africa marked by slavery and colonization. I saw a glorious continent. Saw kingdoms built with wisdom and power. Saw priests and priestesses communicating directly with the divine. Saw people mastering the energy of creation, understanding the secrets of the universe. This is the truth that the world tried to erase, Jesus said. My heart raced. The vision shifted. Now, I saw ships arriving at African shores. Saw men and women being chained, ripped from their lands. Saw temples burning, ancient knowledge being destroyed. Saw lies being written about my people's history. And then saw something even more terrible. Saw spiritual forces behind all this. It wasn't just a physical struggle. There was something greater acting behind the scenes, something that always tried to keep this truth hidden. My hands trembled. So, all this was planned. It was for me. His serene yet firm expression. The enemy always knew who you are. They just needed to make you forget. A shiver ran through me. I understood all the oppression, all the suffering, all the attempts to erase our history and spirituality. It wasn't just about political power or economic domination. It was a spiritual battle, and it was far from over. My mind was in shock. So why am I seeing this? What should I do? Jesus looked at me tenderly. You need to go back. The pain in my heart was immediate. Go back? But I want to stay here. The light around him shone even brighter. Not yet. You have a message to deliver. Before I could respond, I felt a strong pull. My body was dragged back. And then the hospital returned. Cold lights, beeping machines. My body ached as if it had been crushed. My lungs filled with air for the first time in a long time. Malik's voice sounded in the distance. Oh my God. She's back. My vision was blurry, but I could see my sister Ellie by my side, tears streaming down her face. I was back, but nothing would ever be the same. The sensation of falling was so abrupt that I felt my spirit being pulled with overwhelming force. The light tunnel vanished. The golden glow dissipated. The warmth and peace of Jesus' presence were gone. Suddenly, everything around me became cold, heavy, dense. It was as if my physical body was a stone cage, trapping me in a limited existence. My mind still pulsated with the images Jesus showed me, but my physical senses slowly began to rekindle. I was no longer in the hospital. In fact, I wasn't anywhere I recognized. Everything around me was a golden expanse, a space where time didn't exist. Jesus' voice still echoed within me like an infinite echo. The enemy always knew who you are. They just needed to make you forget. Those words echoed in my mind. I need to understand. My voice sounded like a whisper. Jesus reached out his hand again, and when his fingers touched my forehead, the world changed once again. What followed changed everything I thought I knew about history. I was in another time. Before me lay a majestic city with golden towers shining under a scorching sun. People walked the wide streets made of polished stone, wearing colorful tunics and jewelry adorned with precious stones. The air vibrated with an indescribable energy, a feeling of connection with something greater. Past is the past they tried to erase. Jesus spoke by my side. My mind was spinning. This place was so vibrant, so powerful. I saw men and women who seemed like spiritual masters conducting healing rituals. I saw children learning to read ancient scrolls that gleamed with symbols of a forgotten language. I saw priestesses raising their hands to the sky, bringing light and energy to those around them. This was the Black people, but not as victims, not as enslaved, as divine. Tears streamed down my face. The world never taught us this part. Jesus nodded slowly. They couldn't. Because if you knew the truth, you would never accept the lies. The scene changed again. The golden glow of that civilization began to fade. The light was replaced by shadows. I saw the seas crossed by ships. People torn from their homes, dragged into chains, their tongues forbidden, their beliefs destroyed. I saw temples burned, ancient manuscripts thrown into the fire. I saw priests and priestesses being killed, replaced by men dressed in black carrying books with blank pages. And then, I saw the faces behind slavery. They were humans. Yes, but there was something more. Something hidden. Something manipulating everything behind the scenes. Beings with empty eyes who fed on suffering, laughing as they erased the history of an entire people. My whole body trembled. That wasn't just human. It was something greater, wasn't it? Jesus took a deep breath. The battle has always been spiritual. Suddenly, the scenario changed again. Now I saw the modern world. I saw Black children in school being taught to doubt their history. I saw men and women trapped in systems that kept them blind to their true heritage. I saw churches that should set them free but now kept them asleep. And high above all this, I saw the shadows still watching. The same energy that destroyed the past still ruled the present. And worst of all, almost no one noticed. My chest rose and fell rapidly. So, what do I do? How do I change this? Jesus looked at me tenderly. You need to remember. And you need to make others remember. The images around me began to disappear. The golden space slowly dissolved. Time is running out. Soon, many will begin to awaken, but the enemy won't let it happen without a fight. He approached, his eyes carrying the depth of 1,000 universes. Wake up, Zariah, and spread the truth. Before I could respond, I felt a strong tug. My body was pulled back, and then the hospital returned. Cold lights, beeping machines. My body ached as if it had been crushed. My lungs filled with air for the first time in a long time. The voice of Malik sounded in the distance. Oh my God! She's back. My vision was blurry, but I could see my sister Ellie by my side, tears streaming down her face. I was back, but nothing would ever be the same. The sensation of falling was so abrupt that I felt my spirit being pulled with overwhelming force. The light tunnel vanished. The golden glow dissipated. The warmth and peace of Jesus' presence were gone. Suddenly, everything around me became cold, heavy, dense. It was as if my physical body was a stone cage, trapping me in a limited existence. My mind still pulsated with the images of lost Africa, the lie of history, the call to awaken. But now, everything seemed distant. Reality swallowed me without warning. The sound of machines was the first thing I heard. A beep, 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 monotonous. The electronic noise of a heart monitor. My skin was cold. My hands were heavy, as if made of lead. Slowly, my awareness adjusted to the surroundings. I felt something pressing against my face, an oxygen tube. My fingers moved slightly, and I realized the needles were stuck in my arm. Then came the first real breath. The air entered my lungs like liquid fire. My chest rose and fell erratically, as if my body was trying to remember how to live again. And then, I heard a muffled voice. Oh my God! She's back. Malik, I would recognize his voice anywhere. My eyes were still fuzzy, but I blinked a few times, and slowly, the silhouettes around me took shape. My sister Ellie was by my side, holding my hand tightly. Her eyes were red, filled with tears and exhaustion. Malik was beside her, hand over his mouth, as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. A nurse rushed to the bedside, checking my vital signs and speaking to a doctor who had just entered the room. The world returned with full force. The voices were too loud. The hospital lights were too bright. My head was spinning. My stomach churned. But above all, there was a single truth in my mind. I no longer belonged to this world in the same way. Malik leaned over me, his face a mix of shock and relief. "Zahir, can you hear me?" My mouth was dry. My throat felt like a cracked desert. I tried to speak, but all that came out was a hoarse, weak sound. The nurse quickly adjusted the IV and brought a small glass of water. I took a sip, and when I finally managed to speak, my voice was almost a whisper. "And what happened? Ellie squeezed my hand harder. "You had an accident, Zaraya. They said your heart stopped for 2 minutes. 2 minutes. For 2 minutes I was dead. But what I saw, what I experienced couldn't be explained in mere minutes. The image of Jesus still burned inside me. The vision of the lost past, of the great awakening, of the call to remember. That was real. Much more real than this hospital room. Than the machines. Than the weight of my own body. Tears welled up in my eyes. I needed to tell them. I needed to tell the world. But would they believe? The nurse and doctor continued checking my vitals, while Ellie and Malik looked at me as if I were a walking miracle. "We thought we had lost you," Ellie whispered. Her voice choked. I squeezed her hand with the little strength I had. "I saw things." Ellie blinked, confused. "What are you talking about?" My heart raced. How could I put into words something so grandiose? But I needed to try. "I met Jesus." Malik and Ellie exchanged glances. "Wait." Malik scratched his neck, trying to process. "You mean, like a vision?" "Like a vision?" I shook my head. "No, I went to him. I saw everything. What they erased from our history. What they tried to hide about us. About who we really are." Ellie leaned back a bit, looking uncomfortable. "Jarzi, you hit your head in the accident. Maybe it was a delusion. Something your brain was trying to process the trauma." I knew she would say that. I knew nobody would believe so easily. But that didn't change what I had seen. I didn't dream that. I lived it. And I continued to share my experience, knowing the risks. Each meeting was like lighting a flame in the darkness. People listened attentively, some with tears in their eyes, others in shock, but all with a thirst for knowledge, a hunger for something more than the official narrative. And I knew we were on the right path. The truth couldn't be silenced forever. Even with threats, even with fear, I was determined to continue. The spiritual war was happening, and I knew my role was to fight. Each meeting was a battle won, a step closer to victory, and I was willing to fight to the end. The message had to be spread, the truth had to be revealed, and I was willing to risk everything for it. The war was just beginning, but I was ready to face it. Instead of speaking to crowds, we spread the truth from person to person, mouth to mouth, and something extraordinary began to happen. More individuals began to remember. More people began to have dreams, visions, inexplicable sensations. The awakening was spreading, diffusing. It was like an uncontrollable spiritual fire. However, as it grew, the opposition intensified. Authorities began to warn about spiritual groups considered dangerous. Traditional religious institutions began to censor what we were communicating. And the darkness? It became more aggressive, but I couldn't step back. I chose the truth. And now, the world also had to make its choice. The world was undergoing transformations. I felt it not only in my own life, but in everything around me. People were waking up. Increasingly frequent reports of experiences similar to mine emerged. Dreams, visions, spiritual manifestations. The veil between this world and the other was becoming thinner. And that meant only one thing. The final battle was already underway. That night, as I tried to sleep, I was awakened by an intense presence. My skin prickled. The room was lit by a light that didn't come from conventional sources. I knew what was happening. Jesus was present. My eyes instantly filled with tears. "Lord, what should I do now?" His voice echoed inside me, calm, yet urgent. "The time of lies is running out. The world needs to prepare." My hands trembled. "Prepare for what?" He looked at me with an indescribable depth, and then, images began to unfold before my eyes. The world collapsing. Natural disasters worsening. The global economy crumbling. Governments uniting to control entire populations. And then, I glimpsed something even more terrible. I saw war. Not just war between nations, but a spiritual war. A battle between invisible forces for most of humanity. The truth will be attacked, Jesus continued. But those who open their eyes will be part of the change. Then, I saw the new era. The post-chaos world. People rediscovering their spiritual connection. The Black community assuming its role of spiritual leadership on the planet. A renewed consciousness emerging, in which lies could no longer hide the truth. But before that, challenges would come. Pain, shock. The separation between those who would choose awakening and those who would choose to remain asleep. My legs weakened. Now I understood. This was not just a call for me. It was a call for everyone, and each individual had to make their choice. Ignore the truth or awaken to it.